Hey guys, so I'm at a client project and I've been working on these AI servers that you can see here. So these ones are running some 5090s. These particular two are running some 5090 Ti, or excuse me, 5090 Founder Series. We're using these to do some level of inference, as well as some other interesting AI work that we've been using to do different levels of work for pre-processing, where you can do offline processing that doesn't have to be done in real time. And this level of work is interesting because you can take pretty much any workstation, and in this case it's a workstation with a 5090. We originally found that the 5090 performs better when it's by itself than trying to stack two into the machine. So we've actually found that we get a higher level of output as we work with the 5090 by itself. So we had originally started with using Ollama. We've moved into using Llama CPP. Ollama is great. You can actually scale up a project pretty large using Ollama, surprisingly further than we originally thought. And then as we're working with Ollama, we moved to using Llama CPP. Now, some of the other great parts, if you're going to do RAG, you want to definitely be using Feist, and we're making some programming videos. So make sure that you follow along and like and subscribe, because these programming videos are a great way for you to be able to grab some code, start pulling it down. You can use Ollama, you can use Llama CPP, we use Feist, and we show how to use all of those different technologies to be able to train. And so this is a pretty standard computer. I think this has 32 gigs of RAM with a CPU, but something you can usually find around, used on Facebook Marketplace for $500. And given that, with adding a graphics card, you don't even have to go as high as the 5 series. Pretty easy to go and just grab even a 3090, which you can usually find for between $700 to $1,000. And with a 3090, you can actually get some pretty good level of inference, and especially if you're working on using AI for data processing behind the scenes in a processing way. So ultimately, it's more important about the software that you're building. Follow good software practices. Don't trust the AI to be all-encompassing. You have to be able to make sure you're vetting it and that you're following good standard software development practices. And as always, make sure you follow along here, because we have a lot of great information and teach a lot about different AI projects, and give a lot of free code. We're dropping code samples every week.
Today, we're diving deep into the performance of the NVIDIA GeForce RTX 5090, specifically for demanding AI and machine learning workloads. We're not just gaming, we're pushing these GPUs to their limits with large language models and intense stress tests. The RTX 5090 is a beast, packing a massive 32 gigabytes of VRAM. At idle, a single card is pretty reserved, consuming around 18 watts of power with a temperature hovering around 40 degrees Celsius. That's about 104 degrees Fahrenheit. But today, we're doubling down. We have 2 of these cards in the machine, giving us a good amount of raw, untapped horsepower to try out. So let's dive in. We're going to be using 3 large language models with varying levels of parameters. First, we have the Lava 7 billion parameter model. Next, the heavier Lava 34 billion parameter model. And finally, the massive Llama 3.1 with 70 billion parameters. Let's see how they measure up on the RTX 5090 using Ollama for inference. We're running a simple test setup here. Each model gets a quick warm-up request to load into the GPU's memory, followed by the main benchmark request. We're watching the key metrics, tokens per second and characters per second, which reflect the GPU's utilization efficiency. First, the warm-up request for the Lava 7B, and now the benchmark. Took no time at all. The Lava 7B finished in just under half a second. It generated 181 tokens, 427 characters, at a rate of over 900 characters per second. This model is effortless for a single 5090. Now it's moving on to the warm-up request for the Lava 34B model, and this is real time. You can see the live stats for the GPUs running on the right, so we can track exactly how hard we're driving them. Okay, not bad. Sub 2 seconds for the Lava 34B full trip. We're seeing about 48 tokens per second, or 265 characters per second. Now it's warming up for the Llama 3.170 billion parameter model. Okay, it's done. The 70B model took a total of just under 25 seconds to run the warm-up and the benchmark. we're getting about 3 tokens per second here and almost 18 characters per second. Definitely slower than the others, but that is to be expected. This model is much heavier than the first two, and it almost completely consumed the VRAM on our single card, using close to 30 gig of the 32 gig available. The single 5090 can handle it, but it's a tight squeeze. Now let's try streaming with that large model to see what the actual user experience looks like. We'll give it a simple prompt and go. Considering the sheer size of the model, the performance is honestly pretty good. I ran these a few times and found the average for each one. The table clearly shows that Lava 7B was a speed demon that barely taxed the GPU. Lava 34B maintained a great speed while requiring a bit more juice. The main takeaway, however, is Llama 3.170B. It performed slower as expected from a model of its size, but it maxed out the VRAM, consuming almost 30 gigabytes. The exciting part is that even this massive model can be run on a single graphics card.
Again, where you can follow these code samples and you can start your own AI project for less than $1,000. So we have videos about how to even build out your own AI servers. So you just saw an example of one server that we've used here at the client, and they had a 5090. So a lot you can do with 5090. This client also has some larger Blackwell chips and everything, but ultimately, you don't even need all of that. A good 3090 Ti, it'll get you a long ways, and you can run a ton of the models out there with that. Anything larger than those models, I would seriously start to question what you're doing. So work with these programming videos that we're giving you with that free code. Make sure you're always learning. As we all know, with this market right now, the most important thing you can do is become an expert in your field. Pick something, get really good at it.